Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Marvel United X-Men. This is the big giant Kickstarter box. This is the, it's technically video 3, but it's also part 2 because this is the villains. So the first 2 videos, went over all the heroes, and now we're going to look at all the exclusive villains. Yeah, this box art is pretty crazy, so we get like New Mutants here on the side. We have Alpha Flight, we're upside down. Here we go. Alpha Flight's on the top. But then this front picture shows all the rest of the characters on there, so you can see who some of the villains are. They don't stand out as much, except for a big couple glaring ones right there. And over here there's a few more. But yeah, we'll jump through all those, see what everyone is. And some of these are also purple characters, so villains are usually red, heroes are blue. That's how it was in the regular Marvel United. The X-Men had purple characters who have a hero and a villain form. So we did see a couple of them when we went through the hero video. Now we're going to switch our villains to. So without further ado, let's jump in and look at some of these. So first up, we're going to start with one of them dual ones right now. This is kind of the only oddball of the group, is we have Namor Mackenzie, or Submariner Namor. I don't know if he ever really fought the X-Men that much, but they make him playable as an X-Men, or as a character. But he works nice in the other sense, like you're already making him anyhow, to be used and, used with it, because he did join the X-Men for all, but now you can use him to team up with Captain America. Or you can have him team up with Doctor Doom, against, put team versus Fantastic Four. You can do some different stuff there. Yeah, so a bunch of interesting things you could do. Alright, so then we're going to have his cards. So on the backs of these cards, their dashboards, you're going to have the supervillain mode, which we'll talk about right after him. Well, I'll go over some of this. There's some extra stuff for it. But this was added in the X-Men campaign, the base set. It gives you a way so that a player can choose to play as one of the villains, and they can control which cards are played versus them just being random. And then the hero players just start with extra tokens based on the villain, to kind of help offset the human player element, instead of just random chance. So, like, if the player plays as him, the heroes get 2 movement, 2 heroic, and 2 attack tokens to start with. So, extra boost right off the bat. And these are different for every single villain, and there are a few that don't have this because they're just, the way they play is just not compatible to have someone play as them. I don't think there's very many of them, but there are a few. And then now, if you have the original Marvel United set, either if you bought with this set, if you bought the cardboard versions, which I did a video on too, the thicker cardboard, they all have reprinted with those if you bought the one for the original campaign. Or you can go to the website and they have a list of all these so you can print them off yourselves. But let's look at what Namor does here. So he's got 6, 9, or 12 health. Special rule: when a hero is KO'd, Namor doesn't activate his BAM. Instead, he places 1 crisis token on that hero's location. If a location already has 3 crisis tokens, place an additional crisis tokens in the next clockwise location instead. Overflow: if there are more tokens can't be added, place a crisis token in that location. And BAM. Deal 2 damage to 1 hero in Namor's location, place 1 crisis token in that location, and villainous plot: the hero loses if there are 3 crisis tokens in 4 or more locations. So kind of like, you could kind of imagine this, if you want to put more of a scenario to it, is that maybe the crisis token is him sending in his Atlantean troops to take over the land, or maybe he's rising the tides. Something along those lines. So then we're going to look at his cards here. Got Namor there. I want to do it this way. Since you could go a little bit faster than some of the hero cards. Well, maybe not. But we just got usually movement, bam, tells you where they're what you're placing down. Thugs. So you don't spend too much time on these guys because they're just either movement or bams. But then he has special cards. So he has Imperialist Rex. Deal 1 damage among heroes for each Imperialist Rex Master Plan card in the storyline. Then add +1 in each location that has 1 or 2 crisis. So this one moves him 0, and then he has several more of these. He has one that's 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, and 5 space. So he gets 6 of those. So deal 1 damage for each Imperialist Rex. So as he goes further and further, he's going to do more and more damage. Adds more crisis tokens, adds more civilians. It might spill over to add more crisis tokens. So yeah, he's going to cause some problems. Then his threat cards. So he's going to get 3 copies of Tidal Wave. Move each hero 1 location away from Namor. And then he has 3 copies of Atlantis Invades. Add 1 threat, or add 1 thug to this location in both adjacent locations. So, like I just said there, his theming kind of goes on both of them. Using water to rise or Atlanteans attacking is kind of what his cards theme out. So that is our Namor. Alright, so another thing to go over, which came also in the Kickstarter box, is we have the supervillain cards and superhero cards. So if you're playing with this special mode, the X-Men starter set came with these. This came with a few Kickstarter exclusive ones, but it gives you extra cards to use. I'm going to zoom in on those a little bit. Time to end this. Trigger at the end of any hero turn, once the heroes have completed all 3 missions. So that's it. The villain can play a trigger. This effect accelerates the next villain turn by 1 card. So after they beat it, you can speed up. Secret escape device. During a hero's turn, and you're about to lose your last health. Move to the opposite location with 1 health remaining instead. Your time will come. Trigger, a hero in your location is discarding their last card to the bottom of their deck. Effect, that hero keeps 1 card in their hand instead and is not KO'd. Add 2 Master Plan cards face down to the story, delay the villain turn by 1 card. Yeah, it keeps them alive, but it kind of puts you in a bad spot anyhow. I own this place. Trigger, a hero is about to use the end of turn effect of your location or an adjacent one. Effect, end of turn. Effect is ignored, and they move any threat in play to that location. Oh boy. Lost your power. Trigger at the end of a hero's turn once you are under pressure. Effect, turn face down any 1 face-up hero card in the storyline. This corresponding hero gains 1 wild token. Oh, that could mess up a lot of different characters. And 2 can play this game. Trigger, at the end of a hero's turn when the hero gains any action. Effect, gain 2 health, may go above your starting value. And then correspondingly, the heroes also get some cards to play. Just to help give them a little bit of benefit, again, to counter that villain, human element of the game. So you have chasing the bad guy. Trigger, at the end of a villain turn, you are not the villain's location, move 1 location closer to the villain. Getting up stronger. When you are KO'd and you are drawing cards to your next draw step, effect, draw 1 additional card. You may search your deck for a specific card in your deck, and then reshuffle it. Comeback is coming. You are KO'd. Effect, gain action tokens matching a symbol to the bottom of 1 of your cards in your discard from your hand to the bottom of the deck. Oh, 1 of the cards you discarded. Gotcha. Into the thick of it. Trigger at the end of a villain turn. Your location and or adjacent ones have no empty slots. Defeat a thug and rescue a civilian in that location. Crisis averted. At the end of a villain's turn, discard the 2 crisis tokens from anywhere except the villain dashboard or decrease the villain track by 1. Surprise move. Trigger. Overflow is triggered at any location. Place the thug civilians that were not added to the location on the corresponding mission card. Last chance. Trigger at the end of a villain's turn, and the master plan deck is empty. Gain 1 move and 1 attack. Ooh, so like, yeah, 1 last ditch effort. Preemptive strike. The villain is placing a threat card at any location. Effect: add 2 corresponding action tokens from the pool on the threat or deal 2 damage to that henchman. Doesn't hurt so bad. You're about to take damage during a villain turn. Ignore 1 damage during the next villain turn and gain 1 wild token. On your next turn, you must play your card randomly. And the last one is Looking for Trouble. Trigger at the end of a villain's turn when there are at least 2 empty slots in your location. Add 2 thug civilians to your location. So whichever you need. Cool. So these are some extra interesting new cards you can get. Alright, so our next villains. We got a special one here. We're going to start. So I kind of tried to group all the, like, if you watch the hero video, I tried to group them all by teams as best as I could. So just going to kind of try to put everyone by their similar themes. So first up, we are going to look at the Brotherhood of Toad, Blob, and Pyro. So here we have big old Fred Dukes, the Blob, whose ability, of course, is being an immovable object. He also can absorb attacks, and he can't move unless he chooses to be moved. But he can also uses his flabbiness to absorb blows. So not just he gets hit and it just stops him. They absorb into him. Kind of neat. Mortimer Comberry, the Toad, who has, agility, a prehensile tongue, sometimes his acid spit. I like that he's on the Xavier School, like a broken down part of that wall. So kind of hide him back there. And Pyro here, Eldris Saint. Is that? Why can't I remember his name? It's Australian. I hate when I can't remember the name. I love the little flame coming out. So he has flame manipulation powers. He cannot produce flames himself, but he can control any flame in his vicinity, increase it, direct it, turn it into objects. So basically, if he fought the Human Torch, he might not be able, I don't know if he'd be able to turn the flames to hurt the Human Torch, since Human Torch is impervious to fire, but he could take the Human Torch's flames and, essentially just turn them into weapons against the rest of the Fantastic Four. So it's crazy. Now you can wear a little backpack with extra flame stuff. So these guys are a special setup. So it's the villain starting in each location. Blob in the villain's location. Pyro 2 spaces away going clockwise. Toad 2 spaces counterclockwise. So they form a triangle. You place all 3 at the same time. They have different healths. 2, 3, and 4, or 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, and 4. So special rule here. So let's zoom in on that a little bit. Only activate the BAM of the villain listed in the master plan card, resolving them in reading order. Blob can only be damaged by heroes in his location. Heroes ending their turn in a location with 1 or more crisis tokens take 1 damage. Heroes can use Heroic to move one crisis token from their location. When a hero is KO'd, the villains don't activate their BAM. Instead, draw a master plan and place it face down. Overflow. If there are more tokens that can't be added, draw a master plan, add it face down. Toad's BAM effect. Toad moves one hero from an adjacent location to his location, then deals 1 damage to one hero in his location. Blob deals 1 damage to each hero in his location. And Pyro fills the rightmost empty slot of both locations adjacent him with crisis tokens if possible. Alright, so then let's look at what their... So there's the back of their cards. So let's check out what their cards do. Again, they're going to be kind of... If you played the... played or seen the video for Sinister Six, or the Wanda Pyro, or Wanda Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and Days of Future, X-Men First Class, you get kind of the idea of how these work. So you play this card, Bob moves 0, Pyro moves 2, and then you do, but both do BAM. Brotherhood in action. Each villain adds 3 thugs to their location. And you got the same one, but Toad gets to move. The same one where it's a combination of Toad and Blob. And then we have Spreading Terror. Add 1 civilian in every location with no villain. Combination of Blob and Pyro. Toad, Pyro, Toad and Blob. Then we have Hard Punch. So Blob and Pyro. Blob deals 1 extra damage to one hero in his location. Spread the Fire. Pyro fills the rightmost empty slot location for crisis token if possible. And Smart Break Toad. Each hero in Toad's location must discard 1 action token if they have any. And then just a movement and BAM for all 3. Another one for all 3. And that special one, it says move Toad and Pyro to Blob's location. The Brotherhood of Mutants. Add 1 civilian, 1 thug to the location opposite of the villains. So that's kind of a fun little gimmick that they get to have. So then we're going to have some threat cards with the 3 of them. So we're going to have some threats. We have 2 copies of Flammable Materials. Crisis tokens in this location require 2 heroics instead of 1 to be removed. 2 copies of Solid Ground. If Blob is in this location, Blob can't take any damage from heroes using move to leave, and heroes using move to leave instead must use 2 move. And 2 copies of Leaping Foothold. As long as this threat is in play, if Toad is about to receive damage, move him to the next clockwise location with a Leaping Foothold and negate all damage. So you gotta get rid of those so you can bounce back and forth between 2 different locations. Alright, so those guys are kind of fun as well. Definitely an interesting way to do that. Would have been neat if they would have had a way for all 3 of them to be separate characters as well. Or to be able to add other characters that were part of the Brotherhood. Yeah, like more of like, it would have been awesome if they had like more like a central board being like, play like shuffle up their cards and play like 2 cards from each of their decks or something like that. But that's alright. Alright, up next we have another Brotherhood member, Avalanche. So there's Avalanche, whose name I also can't think of at the top of my head. I don't know the villain names as well for whatever reason. There's a super villain tokens. So I think he's going to be a little bit more straightforward. 5, 7, 9 health. BAM. Deal 1 damage to each hero in Avalanche's location and in both locations adjacent to it. Fill the rightmost empty slot in Avalanche's location with a crisis token. There are no empty slots. Discard the rightmost thug civilian and replace it with a crisis token. Overflow. If one or more tokens can't be added to a location, draw a master plan and add it face down to the storyline. Yeah, so he's fairly generic, like nothing super special going on. But we'll look at his cards. So there's his... I believe his name is Dominic something. I can't think of his last name right now. I feel proud if I'm even that close. Alright, so you got more of the traditional, not moving around stuff. A couple of moves. Hopefully he has some good abilities. He has a seismic ability. He shoots shockwaves. So he's got 2 copies of Seismic Wave. Fill the rightmost empty slot in Avalanche and both adjacent locations with crisis tokens. If there are no empty slots there, discard your rightmost civilian thug and replace it with a crisis token. Yeah, so nothing extra special there. He's got his threat cards. 3 copies of Aftershock. If one or more overflow triggers anywhere, each hero in this location takes 1 damage. And 3 copies of Debris. Heroes ending their turn at this location take 1 damage for each crisis location. So you guys going to put them crisis tokens out, and it's going to make these a lot harder to deal with. Or you're going to want to deal with them as quick as possible. So there's Avalanche for you. Alright, so that's our second one of our classic villains. Let's look at another classic X-Men villain. We have Sauron. Dr. Carl Lycos. Turns into a reptile with hypnotic powers. Let's look at his... This is definitely a cool miniature. It's up on them rocks. Alright, special rule, I guess. 5, 8, and 12 health. Special rule, when a hero is KO'd, place 1 crisis token on Sauron's dashboard before activating his BAM. BAM, deal 1 damage to each hero in Sauron's location. 1 hero there takes 1 extra damage. And overflow, if 1 or more tokens can't be added to location, deal 1 damage to each hero in Sauron's location. So he's just going to do a bunch of damage. Let's look at his cards. There's his back of his regular cards. And then he's going to have BAM, some movements, some BAM and movements, just some movements. I think there's not always BAMs on there. Kind of overindulgence of them BAMs sometimes. Alright, then he has 2 copies of Hypnosis. Move clockwise to the next location with the least heroes but not empty. Hypnosis, give 1 Hypno token to 1 hero in Sauron's location. A hero with the Hypno token must play their card face down during their next turn, then discard the token. So he's going to get these Hypno tokens that are double-sided. Then he also has 2 copies of Mutant Power Absorption. Clockwise to the next location with the most heroes. Add 1 Master Plan card face down on the story for each crisis token on Sauron's dashboard. So, not really sure how that works for power absorption, but fun little thing. There's his threats. So we have 2 copies of Dangerous Savage Land. Heroes ending their turn at this location take 1 damage. 2 copies of Mutating Savage Land. Each thug hero requires 2 damage to be defeated. Heroes can use Heroic here to turn a thug into a civilian. And finally, 2 copies of Thick Jungle. Heroes using move to leave this location must use 2 move. Now we got Sauron, and we have started talking about the Savage Land. Let's hope we get Khazar and Zabu in the next set. That'd be awesome. So there's Sauron. Again, not like his hypno things. The tokens are kind of neat, but he's not a overly crazy villain. Now we have Jason Wingard, the Mastermind. So he's part of the Hellfire Club. So now we have 2 members you can play as. Well, I guess 3, because you also got White Queen. And then, yeah, Sebastian Shaw. And then we actually start going into, like, some of the other members of the current Hellfire Club. In the comics, you also have Kate Pryde and Bishop. But that's a different thing. So here's his little miniature. He's kind of just standing there. And he's regal. I love the little banister behind him. Like he's kind of up on a set of stairs. Kind of cool. So he can create illusions. Not quite mind control, but they're very realistic. Special set. 2 heroes do not start in the hero's starting location, but each location adjacent to it. He's got 4, 5, and 6 health. Special rules. When a hero is KO'd, Mastermind doesn't activate his BAM. Instead, draw a Master Plan card and add it face down in the storyline. Mastermind cannot be damaged as long as there are crisis tokens in his location. Heroes can use attack to remove 1 crisis from their location. BAM, deal 1 damage to each hero. If there are skill cards in the Master Plan deck, each hero calls out a number of 0 to 5, then reveal the bottom card of the Master Plan. Heroes that guess the movement number ignore this damage. Shuffle the card back into the Master Plan. And then overflow of card tokens can't be added to each hero. Can't be added again. Each hero alone in their location takes 1 damage. Interesting. So yeah, he's all about placing some crisis tokens and messing stuff up. A lot of crisis tokens so far. So there's his picture. I want to see that a little bit better, even though it's sorry on the other card. And his cards. So you got the normal ones. Get a lot of these BAMs. And then he's got 2 copies of Illusional Duplicates, one with thugs, one with civilians. And these are going to say, place as many crisis token in Mastermind's location as the movement on the previous face-up Master Plan in the storyline. So he's going to add a bunch of extra crisis tokens. Then his threat cards. 2 copies of Lured. Heroes starting their turn alone in this location with 2 or more cards in hand must discard 1 card to the bottom of their deck. 2 copies of Confused. Heroes starting their turn alone in this location must ignore 1 action symbol at the bottom of a hero card. And 2 copies of Trapped. Heroes starting their turn alone in this location must spend 2 move to leave instead of 1. So he kind of wants people with somebody else, because if they're by themselves, he can mentally illusion them a little bit easier. At least that seems sort of what the gameplay is supposed to be. But yeah, he could be kind of fun. I wish he did something more with, like, maybe messing with somebody's hand, or something along those lines. That would have been a little bit more fun. But that's alright. Alright, so our next group are going to be Wolverine villains. So I'm just going to move these guys closer so I don't have to keep getting up. Alright, so we're going to have villains. I mean, they attack all the X-Men here and there. But they're a lot of times going to be Wolverines. So we have Omega Red. I don't remember his real name either. It's very Russian. 4, 6, and 8 for health. Special rules. Heroes with crisis tokens can't have more than 3 cards in hand at any time. They must discard down to 3 if they have more, and they don't draw cards if they already have 3. When a hero is KO'd, Omega Red doesn't activate BAM. Instead, draw Master Play, play it face down. BAM. If one hero in any location takes 1 Crisis token, heroes choose. Then deal 1 damage to each hero in Omega Red's location and both adjacent ones. And Overflow. If a token can't be added, deal 1 damage among the heroes in that location for each token you couldn't add. There's Omega Red with his carbonium tentacles, life-sucking tentacles. Alright, what do his cards do? We have movements and tokens. I don't think I've ever seen any card add more than 2 tokens. I should go back through all of them and see if any of them do. It'd be interesting to see if any will add like 3 or 4. Alright, so he's got 2 copies of Lethal Spores, one that moves 2, one that moves 4. Lethal Spores say 1 hero in any location takes 1 Crisis token, then each hero with their Crisis token takes 1 damage for each Crisis token they have. And then he's got 2 copies of Life Force Absorption, also with 2 and 4. Omega Red gains 1 health for each damage dealt to heroes this turn. During this villain's turn, they go above starting health. He loves to steal people's life. Got threat cards, so we're gonna have 1, 2, 3 copies of Endless Thugs. BAM, add 1 thug to this location, and 3 copies of Scared Civilians. Add 1 civilian to this location. So yeah, nothing super great with those threats at least. But enough to even just make things a little bit more difficult. So that was Omega Red. Up next we have Hirosh Takeda. I might be saying that wrong, or I might be wrong on his name. But we have the Silver Samurai, who's part of the same clan as Mariko, who is Wolverine's at one point wife, who's actually currently in the comic books is the more recently she's the Scarlet Samurai. She got resurrected and trained. So his mutant power is, I believe that he can channel energy through his blade. I believe that's what his power was. So 4, 7, and 10. Otherwise, he's just a skilled swordsman as well. Special rules. When a hero is KO'd, Silver Samurai does not activate BAM. Instead, hero must take 2 cards from the bottom of their deck and remove them from the game. Oh boy. As long as there are any thugs in a location, its end of turn effect cannot be used. BAM. Deal 1 damage to a hero in each location. Silver Samurai left, entered, or moved through this turn. Oh geez, he's actually like a hard mode character. And Overflow says if 1 or more token can't be added, distribute damage among the heroes. They're equal to the number of thugs there. So it kind of sounds like he has some ninjas with him, or henchmen at least. Alright, let's look at his cards. So there's another picture of him. Thugs. 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 Oh, I was hoping they're all going to be thugs. There's 1 civilian. Some more thugs. Civilians. More thugs. Lots of thugs, though. And there's 1 with civilians. So he got a bunch of very similar cards. Looks like 2 of them that go clockwise and 2 that go counterclockwise. So move to the location with the next with any hero. So it's Tachyon, Field, Sword, Duel. One hero in Silver Samurai's location reveals their hand. If they don't have a total of at least 2 attacks at the bottom of their cards, they must discard all cards to the bottom of their deck. That is brutal. Plus with his special thing where he can make people lose cards if they get KO'd. He's just going to keep chipping away at you. There's his threats. So we have Yashida Recruits. Add a thug to both adjacent location. The Yashida Veterans. Each thug in this location requires 2 damage to be defeated. And the Yashida Dojo. Turn Silver Samurai's BAM deals 2 damage instead of 1. It's anyone he moves through, enters, or exits, so doing 2 damage could be very bad. Oh yeah, that's a fun evil villain there. Alright, our last General Wolverine villain is Lady Deathstrike, Yuriko. Blames Wolverine for stealing her father's adamantium recipe, even though he had nothing to do with it. She is not actually a mutant, she's a cyborg. So she has cybernetic implants, which give her the extended claws. Special set. Assign the hunted token to the starting hero. Their hunted hero, at the start of the game, they draw 1 additional card. So the hunted token was, in the base game, was Sabretooth. So we're getting to do that again. It makes kind of sense. Wolverine gets characters to hunt. 4, 7, and 10. Bam. Lady Deathstrike moves 1 location closer to the hunted hero, then deals 1 damage to in Lady Deathstrike's location. Overflow. If 1 or more tokens can't be added, deal 1 damage to hero on hunted hero's location. And villainous plot. The heroes lose if all the hunted heroes if the hunted hero is KO'd. Oh, so you gotta protect that whoever that is. Alright, and there's her picture for her cards. Alright, we got some 1 moves and some BAMs, some 2s. 4, a 5. Alright, and then she's got some special cards. So, Obsessed with Revenge. Accelerate the next villain card by 1 turn. Revenge Plan. As long as this card is based up in the throwing, each henchman deals 1 extra damage with their BAM. Revenge is served. As long as this card is face up on the throwing, overflow effects also turn the latest face up hunted hero card in the throwing face down. Obsessed with Revenge. Accelerate the next villain turn by 1 card. Revenge in Motion, 1 with thugs, 1 with civilians. Move each threat in the next location counterclockwise, then BAM. And finally, we have Claws Out. Unless this card is face up on the throwing, Lady Deathstrike deals 1 extra damage with her BAM. And then let's look at her threats. Alright, so her threat is she's going to get... so I like this because she actually gets a bunch of different ones. And ones where the same couple are... They're alright, but I like when they get different ones. So, unfavorable terrain. Heroes use movement to leave, must instead use 2. Surprise attack. BAM. Deal 1 damage to a hero in this location. And cybernetic healing factor. As long as this threat is in play, Lady Deathstrike ignores 1 damage each hero turn. And then she's going to run around with the Reavers, her other cyborgs. So we have Bonebreaker, which is Tank Treads. Deal 1 damage to a hero in this location. We have Pretty Boy. He's human head, but he has a robot body. Deal 1 damage to 1 hero in each adjacent location. And finally, Skullbuster. Deal 1 damage to each hero in each location. It's only too bad they didn't have Donald Pierce in there. You guys another villain. But maybe that's something that's coming out later. But yeah, I love henchmen. Always fun to have different characters than just requiring stars. So we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 villains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 villains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Okay. Just trying to figure out how many more I want to do in this one video. Alright, we're going to go to the television. There's your hint for who's coming up next. I'm sure most of you probably have already guessed at that. If not, let's just say, I wouldn't call him a coward, but he is a spineless one. I need to redo my cards here, because I wasn't going to do these guys yet. I changed my mind. Alright, so, if you haven't guessed, we are going to do Mojo, who's known as the spineless one. So he runs Mojoverse, television network, tries to create various events. Lots of times he uses the X-Men as his team. He's a big old guy here. Big blobby guy, rides on these spider legs, has this tail he can use. Special setup. Heroes can choose Mojoverse to be the villain's starting location. If they do, Mojo's health is decreased by 2. Place 1 random hostage token face down in each location. Place the tracker on the 5 spaces of the ratings track. Alright, so let's see what all that is. So here he has 5, 8, or 11 health. Special rules. Mojo can't take any damage as long as there is a hostage. Any hostages remain. Hostages can be saved by performing heroic location as long as there are no civilians or thugs there. The hero gains the action token indicated by the hostage token. Once per turn, the hero may forfeit 1 action to decrease the rating track by 1. The total damage dealt to Mojo each turn is modified by the indicated number under the space in the ranking. BAM, increase the rating track by 1. Overflow, if 1 or more can't be added, increase the track by 1. So as it gets, his results get better, which is what he wants to do, you do less damage to him. And then what do these tokens look like? So there are these color tokens, or these people with like broadcast symbols behind them. And then the other side are going to be 2 heroic, 2 attack, and 2 movement tokens. So that's what his hostages are. So that's actually kind of fun. Alright, let's look at his cards. Mojo was in the Mojoverse set. I think it was in the gold team box, if I remember right. Blue team or gold team, but I think it was gold team. So if you're looking specifically for that location. Alright, so there's his card. He's got 2 copies of Audience. Add 1 civilian in every location. 2 copies of Challenge at a thug in every location. Sway per view. Each hero must discard 1 card from their hand to the bottom of their deck. No Signal. If Major Domo's threat is in play, accelerate the next villain turn by 1. No Signal. If the Major Domo threat is in play, accelerate the villain turn by 1. Mojonium. Until the next villain turn, 1 available attack action must be ignored by each hero during their turn. This doesn't decrease their rating rank. Mojo News Network. Turn all civilians into thugs. Sorceries. Until the start of the next villain turn, cancel special effects on hero cards. Altering Mojo World. Until the next villain turn, 1 available move action must be ignored by each hero during their turn. This doesn't increase the rating track. And his last one is, until the next villain's turn, 1 available heroic action must be ignored by each hero during their turn. Does not decrease the rating track. So, if you didn't notice, he has no movement. Which is why they said if you start him in Mojoverse, which probably gives him an extra little advantage, or works well with him, he doesn't move out of that area. Alright, then we have his threat cards. So I get 2 copies of the Warwolves. Deal 1 damage to each hero in this location. 1 copy of Major Domo. Bam. If there are no thugs or civilians in location, add 1 of each. Major Domo can't be damaged by attacks. Use heroic instead. We got Spiral. Deal 2 damage to 1 hero in this location and 1 damage to each location. And 2 copies of Spotlights. If there are any number of heroes in this location at the end of the villain turn, increase their rating track by 1. Because yeah, if he's filming you, his ratings go up, he's doing stuck damage to you. Yeah, so that's actually very interesting. Some different mechanics. Speaking of him, we have Spiral. We can also play as. We've seen her as a hero. So we can play as her as well. Special setup. Replace the 3 standard mission cards with the special mission dashboard. Break the spell. Any effects that affect the 3 standard missions affect the mission board instead. So we'll look at that in a moment. Let's flip her over. So there's her miniature. She's got 6 swords, 6 arms. She does magical spells. This is why we have Break the Spell. So special rules. Well, Break the Spell mission is in play. Spiral can't take any damage. Cancel a special effect on hero cards. Once Break the Spell mission is complete, Spiral is vulnerable to damage, becomes under pressure. Each hero can use special effects on their card. Each hero draws 1 card. When a hero is KO'd, Spiral doesn't activate or BAM. Instead, increases the dance spell track by 1. If a symbol on the Mastermind card matches one of the symbols, let me scroll on that. Match one of the symbols on the next slot in the spell track, increase the spell damage track by 1. Deal 1 damage to each hero in Spiral's location. And Overflow. Tokens can't be added to the location. Remove the rightmost token of the Break the Spell mission. If the mission is already complete, Overflow has no effect. Then Villainous Plot. The spell damage track. When this track reaches the end, the heroes lose. If you're playing as a supervillain, you have 3 additional spaces. So there's a star, starburst, like a diamond or starburst, and a circle. Alright, so let's see what this Break the Spell looks like. So here's Break the Spell. To complete this mission, you must fill all the slots, placing resting civilians, defeated thugs, and cleared threat tokens. Follow the order shown in the sequence. If a civilian is rescued, a threat is defeated, or a threat is clear but it doesn't match the first empty slot in this sequence, that token is discarded. So you gotta really watch with them threats so that you only defeat them when you need to. Because if you defeat a fourth one by accident and you don't have it in the right area, you're gonna start running out of options. But yeah, that's kind of a different one to do. Like, that would actually be kind of an interesting one to play, like, not even with Spiral, just in general. Like, you have to defeat this stuff in order versus, rather than just whenever you want. So you have Break the Spell, Team versus Team mode. So it does the same thing, except, threat tokens are common slots for both teams because there's only so many of them. Each team only benefits from the effect of completing a mission once they've done it themselves. So blue team could complete it and gold team might not. But yeah, they're basically kind of opposite of each other. But yeah, that's definitely an interesting mode as well. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, there's a lot more on here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 2 more. Alright. Yeah, that's definitely fun and different. Haven't seen that before. Again, that could have been just an extra cool little mode you could have just added on. Like, kind of like Plan B in Guardians of the Galaxy makes things harder. You could just add this on without even playing a Spiral, just to have something different to do. So there's Spiral's picture. Let's look at her cards. So she's got a bunch of interesting stuff. She's got... She has a little symbol by her BAM card, which will fill up a space on her track. So anytime she plays this one, she gets to fill up one of the ones with that symbol. If it matches the next one. So, like, randomly it's a little bit harder, but if you're playing against a player, they can kind of choose. Here we have Teleport Innocence, add 1 civilian to each location. We have another one with different movement and a different symbol. We have another one with different movement, different symbols. We have Teleport Goons. Add 1 thug to each location. Same thing, different symbols, different movements. I have 3 of those. Spiral Dance. After checking the symbol on this card, see if the spell dance track advances, then check the symbol on the previous master plan card in the story as well, possibly advancing it twice. The same thing with a different symbol. 2 copies of Turning Invisible, but with different symbols and different placements. Until the next turn, heroes can't damage Spiral without first performing at least 1 heroic. And then, she has a 3rd one of those that I missed. And then finally, her last one is Whirlwind of Swords. Deal 1 damage to each hero in Spiral's location. Then we're going to look at her threat cards. I like that she does something like this rather than being tied directly into Mojo, even though she works for him usually. So 2 copies of Paralyzing Spells. Heroes starting their turn in this location must ignore 1 action symbol on the bottom of the hero cards. 2 copies of Interfering Spells. Heroes starting their turn in this location must discard 1 action token if able. And 2 copies of Concussing Spells. Heroes starting their turn at this location with 2 or more cards in hand must discard 1 to the bottom of their deck before the draw step. Yeah, so she has some fun stuff that she gets to do even without her board. I can see playing as her as a villain. As a super villain would be a lot more challenging. Alright, so that's going to be end of part 1. We went through about half of the characters or so. We'll finish up the other half in part 2. And we're just going to leave you with a spoiler of Murder World. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye.